East Alabama and West Georgia. It is 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern on your Friday evening. We welcome those of you who are listening via radio this evening on WFAZ, God's Country, 90.9, and WJHO, 89.7, The Classic, and our viewers on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and at drdonwx.com. We are here tonight to talk to you about a nasty mess across the southeastern United States, and we're going to be talking about the possibility of a few rumbles of thunder and also the possibility of some snow across the southeastern United States. First thing I'll tell you is I have good news. And the good news is that severe weather threat has really lessened over the last several hours. We have a cold front that is the one that came through Wednesday, has stalled out down here across the Gulf Coast region of Alabama and Florida, and is just not moving. So that has kept all of the thunderstorms, the heavy thunderstorms and convection offshore for the most part, just south of Mexico Beach and Panama City all afternoon. We thought that that warm front was going to migrate north throughout the afternoon, and that would lift showers and thunderstorms up into southern Alabama, southern Georgia, and maybe as far north as the I-85 corridor, but that just has not happened. So that has lessened the severe weather threat. We have a high risk of severe weather down here in South Georgia. And so just over the last couple of hours, though, it just doesn't look like that is going to materialize. Though we do have some heavy storms down here around New Orleans that will be moving on off to the east, northeast, and that may make it up into southern Alabama later on after midnight and into the wee hours of tomorrow morning, and could also end up over here in southwest Georgia. So we can't completely give you an all clear from severe weather from I-85 south tonight, but the chances are better now that we will not see a major severe weather outbreak down here as we move forward. All right, so now let's talk about the other possibility. We've got a lot of cold air coming our way, and even though we're going to talk a little bit about the S word, I got to tell you that the big news headlines here is going to be frigid cold. That's going to be the big story. It's going to be the temperatures as they take a nosedive after midnight tonight, and your temperature all day tomorrow into tomorrow night, and for most of the day on Sunday is just going to be ridiculous. We're talking about a hard freeze tomorrow night. Most of you across East Alabama and West Georgia may actually see overnight lows tomorrow night down in the teens. We're talking anywhere from 17 degrees to about 23 degrees across the region. So the cold air and the very strong winds coming in out of the north and northwest, that's going to be the big story. Now, we may have some snow to deal with as we head toward daybreak tomorrow morning. If you'll look, for those of you watching us on social media, if you'll look at the screen and look up there to the north and northwest, up around Memphis, Tennessee, stretching all the way back down to Shreveport, Louisiana, you see snow, and it is moderate to heavy at times. But one thing we have noticed in just the last few minutes is the backside of this thing beginning to erode just a little bit. So it'll be interesting to watch and see if that's able to regenerate as that cold air gets into better moisture. You can see that we have a lot of rain across Mississippi, and as that cold air continues pushing to the east, when it gets into that better moisture there, we may see some of that eroding that you see on the backside up there around Hot Springs, Arkansas. We may see some of that fill back in as that cold air gets into some better moisture as we go throughout the night. So we're probably looking at rain across most of Alabama and West Georgia starting in the next couple of hours. That will continue on into 2, 3 a.m. We'll start to see rain change over to snow up in north and northwest Alabama, probably shortly after midnight. It's not far from it now. And then that will slowly migrate to the east and southeast as we go throughout the morning hours. I'm thinking across East Alabama and West Georgia, Talladega County, probably somewhere around 4 a.m. Then as we work our way east across Clay County and then eventually Randolph and up there in Cleburne and Calhoun, we're probably in the 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. range. We should start to see a changeover, maybe mixing with sleet, and then eventually changing over to all snow, maybe for an hour or two right there on the back end. So we have several weather advisories that are out there this evening, and I want to bring your attention to those. And let's go up to, well, let's take a look at the models first, and then I'll show you the advisory. That first model we're looking at right there is the NAM. That's the simulated radar, and that starts at about midnight tonight. We'll let it loop one more time, and we'll show you that it is showing some pretty good thunderstorms there around midnight across East Alabama, and then that snow comes across East Alabama into West Georgia by about 5 or 6 a.m. Tomorrow morning. Now, the second stop is going to be the Euro. This is at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. You see the blue. The blue is snow. If this particular model does verify, we're looking at snow across Randolph, Clay, up into Cleburne, Calhoun, even over into Carroll, Heard County, maybe some snow showers down in Troop, and then back into Chambers, Tallapoosa, Coosa, and this thing really, if this model is correct, we've got snow almost all the way down to Mobile, Alabama at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. And then the next model we want to look at is the GFS. This is at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. It, too, is showing snow across Clay and Talladega, Cleburne, Calhoun, Carroll, northern Heard, and most of north and central Randolph back down into the Wadley area. If this model verifies, though, you won't see much down in Roanoke or Rock Mills. We'll see. We have three different opinions. Even though all three of them are basically showing the same thing, the GFS is a little more conservative with the snowfall tomorrow morning. It's not showing that much across southeast Randolph County. It's not showing anything at all in Tallapoosa or Chambers or Troop. So we'll see what happens. Regardless of which one of these models is correct, I think the best chance of accumulating snow is going to be along and north of I-20, dusting up to a half inch, and maybe some localized 1 inch totals are possible across Talladega, Clay, even into Randolph, and then down into northern Coosa, Tallapoosa, Chambers. But we're not looking at a major problem here from snowfall, unless you're going to be traveling north of I-20 and up into northwest Georgia. We do have several counties in North Alabama and northwest Georgia that are now under winter storm warnings where they could get 2 to 4 inches of snow. But across East Alabama, most of Dr. Don's coverage area, I think we're looking at a dusting to a half inch, maybe some localized 1 inch totals here and there. And that's primarily going to be on cold surfaces, your rooftop, grassy areas, that sort of thing. But it just depends on how much wind we get. You know, the wind will dry things up pretty quick. So if the wind is as strong as the Weather Service is predicting, I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of trouble on the roadways either. Now, if the wind is not very strong and we do have a good bit of moisture and we drop below 32 quickly, then we could have some problems on the roadways, but I really don't think that's going to be a major problem. I think by far the biggest issue across East Alabama and West Georgia is going to be the cold temperatures, the very gusty winds, 20, 30, 40 miles per hour. That may bring down some trees. It could cause some power outages. So we could be looking at some issues from power outages as well. Excuse me, across East Alabama and West Georgia. So make sure you're prepared for that in the event that you do lose power. So now we want to take a look at some of these advisories. This is from the National Weather Service office in Birmingham, and you can see there where they expect the effects of this storm system to be. Basically from about Demopolis up to just north of Clanton, over to just north of Alexander City, and then up to about Wedowee. From those that line north is where the limited impact area will be. Could be a few slick spots out there on the roadways, especially elevated surfaces such as bridges and overpasses. And then on a line from just north of Anniston back over to just north of Birmingham north, we're looking at an elevated impact area there. Difficult travel conditions are possible with sporadic power outages. So again, if you're going north of I-20, make sure you know what the weather conditions are up there. South of I-20, there could be some scattered problems, but I don't look for widespread problems across East Alabama or West Georgia along or south of I-20. All right, so the next stop is going to be the wind. Again, folks, I'm telling you, this is going to be the big deal right here. We're talking wind gust around 33 miles per hour expected around Anniston, 36 miles per hour there around Alexander City, 35 miles per hour down there in Auburn, and we could occasionally see gusts a little bit higher than that. You know, and with the cold temperatures like we're going to have, you factor in winds like that, and our wind chill factors are going to stay down in the 20s or possibly the teens, and yeah, we could even dip down into the single digits from time to time with some of those stronger wind gusts tomorrow and especially tomorrow night. Now, we do expect the wind to calm down a good bit after sunset tomorrow evening, so hopefully when we get to our coldest point, we won't have those strong winds to deal with. And then the last stop I want to show you is the National Weather Service office out of Peachtree City. This is the advisories that are out there now for Georgia. You see that winter storm warning basically from Rome back up to Calhoun to LJ and then to Blue Ridge. From that point north and west, we could be looking at 2 to 3 inches of snow with isolated higher amounts, wind gusts of up to 35 miles per hour. And then from about Cedartown over to just south of Calhoun, over to around Jasper, and then up to around Blairsville and Hiawassee. From that line south and southeast, we're looking at a winter weather advisory, snow accumulations of a trace up to 2 inches possible. 2 inches would be up there on the mountain peaks across the Appalachian chain. So that's what we're looking at, folks. We're looking at a cold rain starting in the next hour or so and continuing through the overnight hours, possibly becoming mixed with snow and sleet after 3 a.m. tomorrow morning, possibly mixing with just sleet and snow for about an hour or so, and then switching over to all snow maybe after 5 a.m. and continuing for an hour or two, and then it's all gone. Very windy and very cold for the next 24 to 48 hours across East Alabama and West Georgia. So we're going to go back to the radar here for just a second. We're going to give our radio stations a chance to break away, and then we'll come back and I'll take a look in the chat room and answer any questions you guys may have out there. We'll spend a little more time together. You folks who are listening to us on radio, if you want to check us out on our social media, all you have to do is search for Dr. Don, WX.com. That's our website, and there are links there that'll carry you over to our Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube feeds where you can watch us on social media as well. We'll continue to keep you updated here on our radio stations across Central Alabama and East Alabama as conditions warrant, and if it becomes necessary, we will go live with more updates throughout the night and throughout the day tomorrow. Thank you guys for listening to us on the radio. WFAZ, God's Country, 90.9 FM, and WJHO, 89.7, The Classic. We'll continue in just a moment. All right, folks, Dr. Don back in here with you. It's about 8:14 Central on your Friday evening. I've just given you the who, what, where, when, and how, what we think is going to happen with this storm system that's moving through. This is a pretty vigorous low-pressure system. It's certainly nothing like what we had back in 1993, March, the big March storm of 93, which I'm almost positive tomorrow's the anniversary. It is. It's the 12th of March. So the anniversary of the of the great blizzard of 93. And here we are again talking about winter weather across the southeast. And we're not looking at anything like that as far as the snow depth is concerned. But now the cold temperatures and the wind, it won't miss it by much. This is going, and I know that's hard to believe with it as warm as it is outside right now. But for those of you who remember 93, it was like 62 degrees when we went to bed that night, and when we got up the next morning, it was a totally different world out there. We're going to be looking at the same thing here. We're just not going to be looking at 18-inch snow drifts. There's not nearly that much moisture involved in this, so nothing like 93 in that respect. But it is going to be very cold. It is going to be very, very windy. There certainly could be some scattered power outages. And I just want everybody to make sure that they are prepared for that as we head into tomorrow. So I'm going to go up here and take a look at the chat room and see if there's anybody with any questions. If you have a question about any of this, now's a good time to post your questions there. Good evening to Mary Wilkins. Miss Mary, I hope you got all your frogs in down there in Frog Eye, Alabama. I know she's working on that this morning. So maybe she got that done, so they won't freeze to death. Robin Williams is listening to us in Roanoke. Samantha is tuned in. Mike Pittman from LaGrange. Good to have you, Mr. Mike. Emily's watching us in Valley, Alabama. There's Brandon. Beth Pike has a frozen emoji on the board. Let's see here. We've got Patricia from Roanoke. Nancy's watching us in LaGrange. Holly Scott is in Woodland. Heather Shellnut, good evening to you, Miss Heather. Let's see here. Good news needs to be snow. I'm working on it. We're trying. Mary Williamson is watching us in Wedowee. Ross is in Lafayette. Jamie Dukas, your alpha agent, watching from Ringgold, Georgia. Well, see, I know what he's doing. He wanted to see a little snow. So he has parked himself in Ringgold, Georgia. Jamie, that's a good spot. Between Alabama and Georgia, that's a good spot. That's a good place to be if you want to see a little snow. So here's the deal, Jamie. I'm going to be expecting some video and some photographs from Ringgold. So be sure you keep me updated on what's going on there. All the way from the other side of the pond, there's Derica. Good morning. Nice to see you in here this morning. She's over in Australia. Shirley is watching us from Roanoke this evening. There's Sandy Knight from Hughley, Alabama. Rock Mills is in the house. It ain't snowing in Newell. Not yet. Not Newell, Alabama. Lineville's in the house. There's Miss Leela. Jesse Hill from Lineville, Alabama. Carolyn is here. Mike and Linda watching us in Wedowee. Folks, if you're on Facebook and you haven't signed in to Restream, if you were given that option, do it. But if you were not given that option or you just didn't do it, if you're on Facebook, when you send me a message, put your name in there because that's the only way I'm going to know who you are. So thanks, Mike and Linda. I appreciate you doing that. All right, we got Corinth in the house. Ranburn, Heflin, Bacon Level. Sharon's down in Alexander City. John's watching us from Corinth. Julie Pike is watching. Sue Smith's in here from Roanoke. Patricia is in Roanoke. Deborah's watching us this evening. Mike Hill is watching. Andrew Williams. Ain't nobody gonna die. Queensland, Australia. Rona's in Roanoke. Spanish Fort, all the way down there toward Mobile, Alabama. Good to see you, Donna. Amanda, is it going to snow tonight? Well, I need to know where you are. For one thing, I'm just going to assume you're in East Alabama. And the answer to the question is yes. It probably won't be tonight, but toward daybreak tomorrow morning, I think you're going to see a little snow. I don't think it's going to amount to much. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. I think the cold and the wind is going to be a much bigger deal than any snow we may see. Now, I don't think this is going to be snowman making weather. I mean, I just don't think we're going to have enough snow to do that. We'll see. This is one of those tricky weather situations. I mean, if we get some stronger convection after the cold air gets here, I mean, anything's possible. But this is not a typically a good setup for a heavy snow across East Alabama or West. Really, there is no such thing because it's not supposed to snow in East Alabama and West Georgia. But this isn't really the setup you would want to see to get that. But sometimes these type storms can give you a big surprise, so we'll see. Deborah's asking, is it snow or tornado-like weather? Well, we're kind of sandwiched in between, Deborah. If you'll look down here in the Gulf of Mexico, there is a cold front down here that's stretching from about New Orleans over to Jacksonville, Florida. We thought that warm front was going to migrate north this afternoon and during the overnight hours, which would have brought a good chance for severe weather south of I-85 in Alabama and south of 75 I-16 in Georgia. But that warm front has parked it down there, and it's just not moving. So that has limited the severe weather threat down here. We are watching a cluster of storms in New Orleans, down here in southern Louisiana and southern Mississippi, that will move to the northeast as we go throughout the overnight hours. Not sure it gets much further north than the I-85 corridor, but we're going to watch that. That could bring some thunder for East Alabama and West Georgia after midnight tonight. But I think the severe threat has lessened significantly in the last couple of hours. Yeah, happy birthday, Taylor Jones. Got Lineville in the house. Snow in India. Cool. Whatchamacallit. Upper Omaha. Good to see you, Mark. Victoria Loggins. Tampa, Florida. Mr. Harmon is down there watching the SEC tournament, supporting the Auburn Tigers, who kind of took it on the chin today. It was not one of the better performances, though they did make a run of it right there at the end. But nonetheless, I'm sure Harold is having a good time down there anyway. I know would much rather have seen a big win this afternoon, but it is what it is. We still got the big tournament to go. Pamela's watching us from Opelika. Thank you, Julie. Marston's Crossroads. Yeah, I just want some snow, not enough to cause power outages, but enough to play in with my grandkids. Well, you're not going to get enough snow to cause power outages, but the wind could possibly bring down some power lines. I mean, it could bring down some trees, which could bring down some power lines. I don't expect widespread power outage, but scattered power outages are certainly going to be possible with the wind gusting anywhere between 20 and 40 miles per hour. Now, that 40 miles per hour would be in the higher elevations up on the ridge, like Potash Ridge in Randolph County, up there in northeastern Randolph and further north, and then the higher elevations of Clay could possibly see some of those 40-mile-an-hour gusts as well. most of you are going to see 20, 25 mile per hour gust, which is enough to bring down a few trees as well. Leaving Randolph County between 6 and 7 a.m., headed to Fayetteville, Tennessee. Ugh. Assuming the roads will be more than likely be clear, I'm assuming not. You're going to be driving right into it. I'm not really sure exactly where Fayetteville, Tennessee is, but you can see by looking at what we have on the screen right now, the snow is coming into western Tennessee, and it's going to traverse the entire state of Tennessee. I mean, so, by the time you get north of I-20 in the morning, from that point all the way to any point in Tennessee is going to have snow. And I don't know who you are because it just shows Facebook user. But you need to make sure you check the conditions up there because you're going to be driving right into where the heavier snow will be. Rome, Georgia in the house. Thank you, Michael. Stuck at the fire station working, and I was stuck at WELR in Roanoke, Alabama working. That's when me and Ron Dewberry got to be good friends. He worked for Alabama Power at that time. We basically lived together for about 3 days, giving us updates on power outages and when they hope to get the power back on. Kathy Maxwell's in the house from Ozark, Alabama. Admiral South Georgia, buddy. Everything's better and better, Mr. Kerry Futch. I'll be with him next week, all week. Hollis Crossroads, there's Christy, Chad Cook. Good evening, sir. Gadsden, Alabama in the house. Thank you, Tracy. Miss Dana out there at Robertsonville. We're going to try to get you a little bit of snow out there. Broughton Ridge is in the house. There's Wadley. Neil Fettner. Good to see you, Neil. Kelly Meadows watching us from Woodland. There's Glenda. She is in Lineville. Michelle is in Warner Robins. Ashland's in the house. Miss Diane Warren, Diane and Jackie, good to see y'all in here. Former neighbors right there. Tammy Messer from Wedowee, good to have you in here. Kim Tate. I hope nobody loses power, but I just want to make sure everybody understands weather conditions are going to change drastically during the overnight hours. When you wake up in the morning, it's going to seem like a different world. It's going to be windy, maybe a little snowflake or two blowing around, and it's going to be cold. Tracy Stanford from Gadsden, Alabama. There's Patty over in Bowden. Jessica's in Dickert. Mossback Ridge. Gloria Buttram. Now, where is Mossback Ridge? I got to know where that's at. Christy's watching us down in Pennon, Lafayette area. David Lovelace, Wedowee, Alabama. Anita watching us from Roanoke. Storm Spotter Coker on the west banks of the Tallapoosa. I'm going to need you to report out now when you start seeing a few flakes falling over there. We got to let the east bank know what the west bank is seeing, you see. Got to be at work in Marston's Crossroads tomorrow. Yeah, I think you're going to be okay. I mean, it just depends on how much snow we get, or or how much snow we don't get. I mean, this is this storm system has bust factor written all over it. There's a chance we won't see anything much more than a cold rain across East Alabama and West Georgia, but there's also a chance we may see some snow. There could be some prizes. There will be some folks that will be surprised by this storm. It will overachieve in some locations, and it will underachieve in others. One of the trends we're watching right now, if you'll look back there on the back side, some of that moisture is eroding away. And if you'll bear with me just a few minutes, I've got a new nifty tool here that I have just been dying to use. And we're going to play with it right now. Let me stop the radar, bring it current. If you'll look, oops. Let's try that again. All right, that's not wanting to come up. Why is it not? Everything works perfectly fine. Till you use it. Yeah, look at there. Okay, I've got to go back over here and make an adjustment, so bear with me just a second. All right. You see that circle there on the screen? Let me reposition it. You'll see right there. Let me back the radar up a loop or two. If you watch that area, you'll notice that some of that white is fading away. That's snow. And you'll see that it's evaporating on the back side of that line right there. Which is an indication that we've got some dry air wrapping into the system coming back down out of the north, which is also an indication of very cold air is coming back on the back side of this and evaporating that moisture. So we're watching to see if that trend continues, because that's the area of snow that would move across East Alabama most likely. However, the other part of that, this is, that's your snow line right there. Like so. And so all this behind that white line right there, of course, is below 32 degrees. And so that cold air, if it starts to override all of this rain that's out here ahead of that rain snow line, if that cold air starts overriding all of this rain, then we may see more moisture build back into it. So it just depends. Is this the 32 line? Is it going to stay right there and move with the rain, or is it coming in quicker than the rain's moving to the north and northeast? Does that make sense? If it's moving quicker, then it may overcome some of this rain and change it over to snow. And I think probably, what time is it now? It's 8:33. Another hour or two, I think we will have lost any heating that we may have had from the day time. So then we should be able to see if indeed that's going to happen. So yeah, we're watching to see if that trend's going to continue back there. I'll put that back in motion. Beginning to see a few strokes of lightning there around Birmingham, too. Let's go in a little bit close on this. And let's change radars right quick. Go to Birmingham. All right, that'll take just a second to load. And I will take a look at these showers in Birmingham. I may actually have a little hail going on here. Pretty, see what the, yeah, that's pretty strong looking stuff right there. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll watch these storms and see how this is going to play out. That would be where your rumbles of thunder would come from. Now, again, I don't anticipate any severe weather at all here. But that's where your rumbles of thunder may come from before we change over to any frozen precipitation well after midnight. Delta, Alabama. Yeah, you're probably going to see some snowflakes in Delta. I mean, you could. I mean, it's conceivable. You could see up to an inch of snow in Delta. Probably not, but it could happen. Mossback Ridge is between Highway 46 and Mikeyville, just off of County Road 10. Gloria, can you send me the coordinates of that location, the latitude and the longitude? If you will, I will mark it on the radar. And for any of you folks who live off the beaten path, just as I do, if you'll send me the coordinates of your location, I'll plot it on our radar so that when we have severe weather, we zoom in tight on severe storms, you can reference where you live. I'm not going to put your name or anything. I mean, like in this case, if Gloria sends me the lat long, I'll put Mossback Ridge. I wouldn't put your name or anything like that on there. But yeah, we love to mark some of the lesser known spots on the map. I bet you won't see Mossback Ridge on a major television station. Yeah, there's no, basically virtually no chance of ice here. It's either going to be rain or snow or sleet. Yeah. Yeah, parts of Tennessee could see between 3 and 4 inches. And again, Tennessee's in that area where some surprises will probably happen. There will be some overachieving snow totals up there in Tennessee in some areas. Lineville, Alabama. West Point, you're in the same boat as East Alabama and the rest of West Georgia. Looking at a cold rain till a cold rain until after 3 a.m. and then sometime around 5. You may start mixing with snow and sleet after 3, and then sometime around 5 or 6 a.m. you'll should start to switch over to all snow, and you may have snow for an hour or two before it all comes to an end. Not anticipating any travel problems in West Point, or not really anticipating travel problems anywhere south of I-20, though there could be some scattered problems here and there. We're not looking at widespread issues anywhere south of I-20. Gee, all ought to look pretty good, Neil. I would probably expect to see at least a couple of inches up there. Maybe more than that. Forts in Georgia, yeah, I think a lot of folks are going to see a flurry, and that probably would be an area that would see a flurry, I would think. I wouldn't expect any accumulation down there, but snow showers for an hour or two in Fortson certainly could happen. Down there off I-185. Dadeville, Alabama. Yeah, I think Clay County will see a little snow in the morning. Deborah's in Valley. No, not really. The question is there a black ice threat for Randolph County or Heard County tomorrow early? I don't think so. Now, again, folks, it depends on how much snow we end up with. I mean, if this thing overperforms and dumps a couple of 2 or 3 hours of heavy snow rate right across wherever you live, whether it's in Clay County, Randolph, Heard, wherever, if you were to get heavy snowfall rates, heavy enough to overcome the warmth of the ground and start to get accumulation out there on the roadway, then there could be some scattered problems here and there. But you got to understand, the ground temperature is around 70 degrees, and it would take a lot of snow falling very fast to be able to accumulate on top of 70-degree temperature soil. It would take a lot of snow to overcome that. And, in our scenario, it's probably going to be melting as soon as it hits the ground, and the wind is going to evaporate that water, especially off of the roadways, about as quick as it can fall. So I really don't anticipate widespread black ice or patches of ice across East Alabama or West Georgia, anywhere south of I-20. Now, if you're going to be going north of I-20, that could be a different story. But south of I-20, I don't think so. Of course, we may have to fine tune that as this thing actually gets underway. We'll see. But it just doesn't look like that's going to be the case right now. Casita, Alabama's in the house. Northern Chambers, yeah, Jennifer, I think you'll see some snowflakes. Broughton Ridge in the house. Well, Chris, I wish I could tell you for sure. If I could tell you for 100% positively sure, we could probably both be rich. I don't know. I mean, we're not looking at a major snowstorm across East Alabama and West Georgia by no means, but we don't expect. I don't expect to see anything major. Let's put it that way. Yes, please smash that like button. Please, please, please. And share us with your friends. Appreciate that. Amanda's in the house. Whew, every time I think of Abanda now, I think about Abanda Cafe. That's some fine food right there. We got to get them on Dr. Don's weather. There's Hunter down in Chambers County. Fredonia, Alabama, over northeast Chambers. There's Matt Brewer. He's over in Haywood. Alex City, just like everybody else, you're going to see snow. The further north you go, the better your chances are of seeing measurable snow. The models are telling us the measurable snow will run from about Carrollton to about Wedowee to around just south of Ashland, back over to southern Talladega, maybe northern Chilton, and then all the way back down into southwest Alabama. That's the measurable snow. Now, south of that line, places like Roanoke, Lafayette, Alexander City, Valley, Lynette, Auburn, Opelika, LaGrange, Franklin, you're going to see some snow. I'm just not sure you're going to see any accumulating snow, but I think you will see snow. Well, there are some similarities between this storm and the 93 storm. Snow-wise, they're not even in the same book. But as far as this being a strong low-pressure system with gusty winds and very cold temperatures, yes. The 93 storm and this storm will be similar in that respect. But we're not looking at anything even remotely close to 18 inches of snow like we had during 93. Almond Community has tuned in. There's Cassandra. Marsha's watching us from Noonan. Paul Davis is up in Woodland. Lafayette's in the house. All right, folks, it's coming up on 8:47 Central. We're going to go a couple of 2-3 more minutes, and then we're going to shut this down because there is a chance I could end up back in here with you a little later on tonight, and could be here a while. So I don't want to overdo it right now. It's been a long couple of days, so I'm going to try to get a little bit of rest. And then we'll see where we go from there. Let me go back to the composite so you can see the snow. That red is a mixture. That's where we're seeing sleet, rain, sleet, snow mix. And then the blue is where we're seeing all snow. Now understand, this is the radar's interpretation of what's going on. It is not exact. That red could be snow, and some of the greens and yellows could actually be, sleet for real, because it's so much more dense. That could be showing up as heavy rainfall. That could be some sleet mixed in with that rain. So that's an approximate area of where the rain is changing over to a mixture and then eventually changing over to all snow. So this is basically, roughly, kind of, the Dr. Don coverage area. And so here is the leading edge of the rain, just now moving over onto the east side of Birmingham. And it is moving in that general direction. So you can see that the rain will start over here in East Alabama and West Georgia within the next hour or so. And there are a few heavier bands of storms here. They're not severe, but you can see a couple of flashes of lightning in there. So that's where you may hear some rumbles of thunder when that line comes through. And then you're looking at mostly light rain behind that, and that'll continue probably until 2, 3 a.m. tomorrow morning. And then this is your snow line. And all of that. Oops. Snow line back. All of that is moving in that general direction. So you can see, we may actually see, it depends on, if we can get the freezing temperatures in here before the sun rises, we could see snow all the way down to the Gulf Coast. It's when the sun starts coming up that we'll start to see the eastern side of this either change back over to rain or stay all rain. If you've been looking at the graphics today, basically we're looking at snow all the way down into southwest Alabama, and then they've got the snow line drawn something like so. It comes all the way up here almost to my house and then turns and goes up into North Carolina. So why then, you're going to ask the question, would it snow all the way over here if it's coming in from the west moving to east? Why would it just stop right here and then change back to rain? Because this is about the time the sun will be coming up in the morning. So we start to add a little bit of, see where the temperature is going to be so critical. 1 to 2 degrees is going to make all the difference in the world as to whether you get snow or just a cold rain. So this is going to be lining up at about the time the sun comes up in the morning. So that's why we're expecting to see some scattered snow showers down in here. I think that's very possible, but no accumulation. All the accumulation should be north of that line I just drew, and the better chances, without a question, is going to be north of that line. Anywhere up here in North Alabama, there's a good chance of seeing accumulation, especially northwest Georgia, anywhere in Tennessee, and on up into Kentucky. Should be, and you'll see up here in Tennessee, that's pretty much all snow up there anyway. I mean, there's very little rain up here in Tennessee. They may have had 30 minutes of rain in Nashville. Now it's changed over to all snow. And you see these heavier blue bands. That doesn't look very wide, but now understand we're zoomed way out. So if we go in closer, you can see that those bands are a county, a half a county wide. And where you see that those blue bands right there, we're looking at, 30, 32, 34 dBZs there. That's a decent thunderstorm, but it's snow. So it's coming down pretty good right there in Clarksville, Tennessee right now. Allensville, Tennessee. Waverly, Tennessee. Light stuff in Nashville right now, but these heavier bands out here to the west side of Nashville are coming that way. I-40, pretty heavy snow out here north of Lexington, north of Jackson. Summerville, really heavy snow now from Summerville back down to Collierville and around the Memphis area. And then that gets down into northern Mississippi. And you can see right there, right along 22, just northwest of Tupelo's, where we change over to snow. We've got rain in Tupelo. Then by the time you get up to New Albany, it changes over to a mixture, and it very sharply changes over to all snow. It's snowing in Oxford, Mississippi right now. So we're going to step aside, folks, and kind of watch this and gather more weather information and see if we can look at some ground truth reports back off to the west and maybe catch a wink or two, and then sometime probably if I had to guess, I would say probably somewhere in the 3 to 4 a.m. time frame. I plan on coming back, and we'll do this again. No, I don't think we're going to see any severe weather in Alexander City. I don't expect severe weather anywhere across East Alabama or West Georgia tonight. The severe threat that we had earlier was down there in southeast Alabama and south central Georgia, and that just didn't develop. And you're going to hear thunder and you're going to see lightning. I mean, you can look right there on the radar. You can see it. Birmingham, we've got some storms back over here north of Brent. And all that's moving east, so it will move into East Alabama. So you're going to have thunder and lightning, and you may have periods of heavy rainfall, but I don't anticipate severe weather. I mean, could we have a rogue storm go severe? Yeah, it's possible, but we're not looking at widespread severe weather anywhere across East Alabama and West Georgia tonight. But I'm going to watch that just in case, and if things were to change, I'll come right back and we'll continue with our live coverage. If nothing changes between now and then of any great significance, then I plan on being back in here with you sometime between 3 and 4 a.m. tomorrow morning to be here with you as we watch this snow come in from the west and see what we're going to end up with. So stay weather aware as you go throughout the remainder of the evening. Watch your Facebook feed, and I'll let you know when I'm about to go live again, and we'll meet back here again. If you don't mind, if you can, we appreciate all the support we can get. And there's our website. All you have to do is go to drdonwx.com. There's a donate button there on the top right-hand corner of the page. You can also download our weather app, and that helps support us as well. Be sure that you like us on Facebook, that you subscribe to us on YouTube. Click that little bell so that when we go live, you get that push notification. And share us with your friends and ask them to share with their friends. And I'll see you back in here in a couple of hours with more continuing coverage of our winter storm event across East Alabama and West Georgia. Y'all enjoy the rest of your evening.